The URC is back for 1 week only, and all of the good teams lost. Does that mean that all of the bad teams won? No, not necessarily. Anyway, let's start the show. I am joined by the full panel this evening. Irish Adam, South African Mohammed, and Scottish Ethan. Good evening, gents.
Good
Evening.
evening.
Good evening.
Adam's just unmuting himself here. I, for the purposes of this podcast, am Welsh Hugh, and I am still drinking the pain away. But Hugh, Wales didn't play this weekend. Why are you in pain? Oh, the pain doesn't just stop just like that. Anyway, what with it being the URC show, we are back. Welcome back to Mohammed, who's been missing whilst we've been covering the Six Nations. Just quickly, Mohammed, you've been enjoying the Six Nations? You've been watching it at all from down there in the Southern Hemisphere?
Watching parts of it. My colleague's on a bit of an animal, and we're recording tomorrow night, so catch our episode tomorrow evening. They've been watching a bit more than I have, but yeah, I think all of us are enjoying the time off and keeping one eye on Six Nations, especially since France are doing so well. So maybe keeping an eye on them a bit closer and that type of thing. We are obviously enjoying the fall of England. Especially Tim Nkosi. Tim Nkosi is famous on Bit of an Animal on Monday nights for really reveling in England's demise.
As a sane and logical human being. Anyway, let's begin with the 8 games that we've got to talk about. So we can't do what we've been doing on the Six Nations show and spend half an hour talking about each game. And I have taken the executive decision that the first game that we're going to talk about this evening is the Vodacom Bulls versus the Hollywood Bets Sharks. So starting straight away with you, Mohammed. And the question is, are the Bulls back?
They're looking very impressive. I mean, before the break, they really outclassed the Lions entirely at Ellis Park, and then they had this little bit of a break, and then they played a quick sort of rotated friendly match against Borland in Wellington, which they didn't win by a lot because people saying, "Oh, the Bulls didn't look that great in Wellington." But then in this game, they were just picked up where they left off against the Lions. It's very similar, very lot of pick and goes. The It's almost as if it took them a while to figure out what Ackerman wanted them to do. Ackerman changed his backroom staff a lot as well. Neil de Bruin is there. Bulls legend Kenneth Kimba is there. Very good fly off of the Bulls back in the day. Yeah, the Bulls had a rotated squad. I mean, Jan-Hendrik Wessels was starting at hooker, which you don't see that often. All their specialized hookers weren't even on the bench. There was Van Staden who plays flank slash hooker, covering on the bench. And yeah, the even the crowd came out at Loftus. That was interesting. Yeah, there was some other aspects to it as well, but the amount of points they put up on and the enthusiasm in the coaching box from the SuperSport feed, where Ackerman stood up and then Neil de Bruin tried to high five him and mistakenly hit Ackerman in the groin. That was hilarious. So everybody seems to be having a lot of fun. Jean was able to go to the Bulls press conference as well as watch 15 minutes of the captain's run on Friday morning. So that was really cool. Shout out to the
Ooh,
Bulls PR team for allowing Global Gainlines in to sort of back, behind the scenes, things like that.
awesome. Legends.
And yeah, Bulls
David
now
Creel
have
at fullback,
yeah, that's unusual. Pollard had a really good game again.
apart from kicking the
Volkola on the
poles.
bench. The Bulls, the Bulls pack struggled towards the early part of the second half, and then when they brought Volkola on, they started out muscling the Sharks as well. This is the Sharks' second loss in Johannesburg in 2 weeks because they flew to Johannesburg, lost handily last week, and the only fixture in the URC last week against the Lions. Flew back to Durban, sort of like try to figure shit out, and then they flew back and they lost again convincingly. So they've also got a lot to work on.
Yeah, and obviously JP has come in. I'll just get your thoughts on that quickly while we're on the subject. Have they kind of gone a bit early appointing JP Peterson on a permanent basis? 2 wins over the Stormers and they're giving him the job.
It's a bit of a weird one because I mean he's backing the youth and he got those convincing victories against the Stormers against the odds. We're very much underdogs on that one. Might have been smarter to wait until the end of the season.
Mm.
Uh, but at least it wasn't just the JP thing that they changed. They also changed the structures as well around JP. But hopefully we can figure some sort of thing out while we don't have an universal rugby calendar, because in the off season we don't really have an off season. Even in this time off, we're a bit of an animal. Everybody was braaiing and running ultra marathons and whatnot. The sevens team, even though we were off because we mostly focus on the Springboks and the URC teams, and then some Currie Cup and that type of thing, and the women's team as well. Um, the sevens team won the HSBC sevens series in Perth, and then the women's Super League One started. So there was a lot sort of going on as it relates to that. So if JP still can have the same problem Plumtree had, where it doesn't really have an off season, doesn't really have a pre-season. And I've spoken to Kaylin about this offline as well. But like, how do because the Bulls CEO was complaining about this, the fact that like, hey, how do we have a preseason when like majority of the players that we think might probably be our first choice players are off with the Springboks actually playing, and we've only got like of the 8 week preseason, some of them are only here for like 2.5 weeks, and the Sharks have the same problem. And Kalen was saying that that Leinster have less of an issue like that because the Leinster players have been playing a similar style of rugby for a very long time, whereas the Sharks and the Bulls change their style of rugby every 2 years or so. And on top of it, the Leinster players are also might not be physically there all the time, but they've got sort of more like how the Springboks do a remote alignment camp with the overseas players. So there's all of these things to factor in. So is JP even being given a platform to succeed? We'll have to see. But it's weird for me because JP Peterson's one of my all-time favorite Springboks and Sharks. But yeah, I'm not one to just assume that if somebody was a world-class player, they would automatically become a world-class coach. I want to see what JP is able to do with the Sharks.
Hmm. I think coming back to this game, I was very impressed with the Bulls. I thought that they dominated physically every time they carried, they got over the gain line. They were going through a lot of phases and scoring tries off the back of phase play, which was impressive. Even under Jake, when they were at their best under Jake, they were never really particularly good phase attack team. Whereas in these last two games against Lions and Sharks, they've really started making that work, which is really impressive to watch. Pollard had a horrendous day off the tee, but when you're scoring, what was it, 7 tries, don't need to worry about it. But Ambrose Papier, it's that time of year again when everybody asks why is Papier not in the Springbok squad. And just generally, I just thought that they were, like, is turning around even from the eye test. It does feel like something is starting to click there with the Bulls. Whereas unfortunately with the Sharks, other than those 2 results against the Stormers, really there wasn't too much to shout about other than Andre Esterhazen is really, really good. And apart from that, there's not really much
Yeah,
to
that
talk
was
about.
weird for me as well. Andre Esterhuizen was the only player who was like living up to the billing, and really sort of always getting over the gain line. And yeah, Sharks now in 3 weeks' time, going to see how much, well, some of the players are going to the Springbok alignment camp. So going to see how much time off JP gives them considering they lost. And we're playing in Durban in 3 weeks' time, the Punsters from Munster. So hopefully they don't have that many sort of Crowley, Casey type thing.
Mm. Adam, Ethan, did you catch much of this game? Any thoughts? Are you worried about the Bulls being back?
A bit because we're playing them in the Champions Cup for a round of 16 back at Scotland.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I didn't catch it because I think it was on the exact same time as the Glasgow match, which we'll discuss later. But no, I was shocked by that result because was it not a similar margin, but the other way around for the Sharks versus the Bulls in the last round? Is that right?
Yeah, when we were somewhat lucky to beat them in Durban, but because we
Mm.
pulled away towards the end. Full house for that game, by the way. But yeah, so Sharks split the
I've seen the
results
Sharks
with
full
with the
houses.
Bulls.
They've got
Yeah.
lots of empty seats for us for
It's
sellout.
a there's a party. So people in the bar, you can relate.
Everyone's at the bar. Right, okay. I can't remember which game it was, but there was a South Africa derby on. Because I don't know if you know this, in the UK, we get the Super Sports feed
Mhm.
via Premier Sports. I have to say, just very quickly, Victor Matfield, the guy looks good. The guy is in
Yeah.
good shape. Um, But they said on the commentary, just like people love a South African derby. You go, "How was the rugby, brew?" You go, "Oh, it's fantastic." You go, "Who won?" I have no idea, because everyone's just getting pissed. So yeah, Adam, any thoughts on the Bulls being back?
Yeah, I'm looking at the table and it's all getting very tight. Everyone's on sort of similar wins and it's scaring me. With the Bulls having a game in hand as we do for like Ulster and Lions secretly picking up wins as well. Like it is making it up to be a very interesting last half of the season, like going into like the third quarter of it essentially.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. And then Ethan, I'll come to you because we're going on to our next game already,
Yeah.
which is, and to be fair, judging on some of the chat in the WhatsApp group, this game making second on the bill is quite an achievement. Connacht losing to Glasgow. It was 3-0 at halftime.
Oh
Proper
no,
rugby.
other way
Um,
around. We lost the Connacht.
oh yeah, sorry. Did I say the opposite? Okay.
Yep.
Connacht beat Glasgow 15-10.
Yep.
Connacht fans were very excited because it's, as you can see, a 80+1 try to give them the victory.
Yep.
Again, top of the league, not capitalizing because the Stormers had already lost by the time this game was played. So there was an opportunity there to extend the lead at the top, but not to be. Is it just purely because all your players are with Scotland?
I mean, it's a weird one because I feel congratulations to Connacht because I felt Connacht were the better team overall, like throughout the whole match. Because every time Glasgow had the ball, they were always on the back foot purely from like the physicality of the Connacht defense. I think the Scotland squad, or a lot of Glasgow players were with the Scotland squad. But I feel like that shouldn't have really been a problem in the sense that this is like the same like contingent of players who played against the Scarlets and oh, who was it? Munster.
Yeah.
And that obviously, like the likes of like Lancaster and Murphy Walker aren't going to be in the Scotland squad just because they're so far behind everyone
If
else.
Stafford McDowell is wearing 13,
Mhm.
that gives you an idea.
Yeah, it's just one of those ones. It's like I feel like they should have had, they've had tons of time to prepare for this,
Yeah.
knowing roughly who's going to be available. And yeah, it was pretty lackluster from Glasgow that they could have had an early Ollie Smith try, but he got held up. And I
Mm.
can't remember. I feel like there was another opportunity in the first half that they could have, had a bonus point win, but just from the way it was, it didn't work out. Yeah, it was probably the worst game I've seen for Josh Mackay in a while, which was a shame because on his day he's absolutely fantastic. But I felt either he was really quiet or he just got completely neutralized by the Connacht defense.
Yeah. Um, Adam, from a Connacht point of view, is this kind of a is this a sign that things are starting to turn, or is it kind of a let's take the context, you know, the what one swallow does not make a summer.
In a way, I thought that I think this is like the most I've seen Connacht play under Stuart Lancaster type of role. The defense was incredible. I thought like it was really hard to fault their defense, and they conceded the tries in the second half, yes, in the 62nd and the 67th minute.
Mm.
But I think that showed like they were sort of like it was like how far Glasgow pushed them to get those tries as well. Like it in a way, the durability of that Connacht team were really good. I felt like it was a really good game as well for the likes of Sean Jansen who scored the last minute try. I thought he had a really good game. He was like bossing around the park. Joe Joyce had really good carries and he had a yellow card. But I think for Connacht and their team as well, helped by the likes of Cian Pendergast being on the bench for them, Bundee
Mm.
being back, but not like Bundee being back in general. I think for a changing room is handy for any team.
I'm so
Uh,
confused about this. I swear we've said on this pod that this game was part of Bundy's ban.
I felt
I
that as
think
well.
I think it might have been the England games, the last one. I think he might have
Well,
when
it must have
he
been
said
because he's played in this
he
one.
said
So
yeah, he said sorry. He said sorry or something like that, and I got do you know the way they go to like tackle school? He
mm,
went to behavior management school. But yeah, it was one of those where I thought that it was one of those typical Connacht games, which reminded me of the Rabo Pro 12. You know, it was a windy day in Galway. It wasn't exactly raining, but
it's
it
one of
like
those ones that has all the hips to saying, "Oh, Galway's a tough place to go," you know.
yeah. Well, it certainly showed that, but like the likes of Sam Gilbert played a really good game as well. There was a moment that I wanted to point out where Dan Lancaster intercepted the ball and had the slowest
Yeah.
acceleration I've ever seen from a 10. He like caught it and was in slow motion. I think the substitute hooker for Connacht might have caught up to him. And I messaged the group chat going, I think that's the slowest I've ever seen anyone. Because like I don't he didn't expect the ball and he just sort of walked. I was just like, well, okay, fair enough. But yeah, for Glasgow taking this win as well, in context to the league, and Glasgow not stretching out their lead at the top, and everyone else is on everyone else's back all of a sudden. As you said, Hugh, the teams that have won weren't expecting to win. So now we're in a really interesting position now in the URC where the likes of Connacht can try and push for that top eight spot because there is that sort of aspect of they can do it if they have the players, but they need to be capitalizing on these games where there's no internationals in them. Like there's no Scottish internationals, like the full strength team essentially.
Mm, yeah, for sure. Ethan, is this just you're going to shrug this one off?
Kind of. I feel it's one of those ones that I'd imagine Franco's probably aiming, depending on how the Six Nations goes, for this sort of lineup to play against Leinster for the next round. And he's probably going to treat this as a good opportunity to be like, well, we came away with something. Like we came away with a bonus point. We could have, we could have won if it weren't for, getting held up, blah, 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 blah. So there's tons because it is a young team when you look at it. When you got like Jack Oliver on the bench, Ben Afshar, a lot of them are younger than me, which makes me feel quite old. And I'm not old, I'm only 25. Um, so I think it's one of those ones that's a good learning experience in a hard learning experience, being like, we've got tons to work on. It wasn't our best, but Kyle Rowe is trying to play himself into the Scotland squad.
Yeah,
So that's like
you've
the
not
only
on the
positive.
on the one hand you could say you've not like reinforced your position at the top of the table. On the other hand, you could say you haven't lost any ground either.
Yeah.
So I think it's just one of them. You're going to get the results like this during the Six Nations. Just accept it. Speaking of results during the Six Nations, it's time. One of the favourite things that we like to do on this podcast is talk about the fact that Leinster lost.
Yep.
So Leinster lost away in Cardiff 8-7. You won't see many podcasts where a game that finished 8-7 will be third on the billing. But we called this, guys, Ethan and Adam, on the Six Nations pod last week. We said we could see a cheeky upset coming. Didn't necessarily think it was going to be like this. Obviously, the weather weren't great. To be fair to it,
it wasn't.
Raining quite a lot. Lots of scrums, lots of dropped balls, but Cardiff got the job done. And if you like those last 2 minutes, they just saw out 2 minutes worth of possession, kicked the ball out. And Leinster's fourth loss of the season. Fourth loss of the season.
Fourth.
And Cardiff are 5 points off top with 12 games played. That's phenomenal for them.
Yeah, I think this game was another one of those interesting ones where I watched it. David, my co-host on the Interpro show, was at this game and he sent a photo at halftime and he was just drenched.
Bless him.
He was like, he was so excited for his trip to Cardiff, and it was just sort of like, oh, the rain was like, I'm gonna say it again. It reminded me of the old Pro 12. 3-0 at halftime, rainy Cardiff Arms Park, an Irish team struggling in Wales. It's welcome back to Pro 12. Yeah, it was interesting. I felt like Leinster's team selection was very interesting. As I said on last week's Interpro show, they are struggling in terms of loose head prop. I thought Jerry Caher and Alex Usanov did an all right job. But when you look at the Connacht, no, not Connacht, sorry, the Leinster team, I'd be really surprised as to why RG Snyman's on the bench. He's probably the highest paid bench player in the world. He never, it's like one of those URC
Yeah.
conspiracy theories that he never really starts. Like I wouldn't
That's
understand why
that's very Leo Cullen type
it
thing.
is.
Just like, who's our
It
best player on the bench? You know,
Well, yeah, it's one of those where I felt like watching it in like for a Leinster standpoint, losing Harry Byrne in the first 5 minutes doesn't help proceedings. Like losing your fly half straight away wouldn't help proceedings. I did think Charlie Tector had an all right game, but I'm pretty sure when as soon as he came on, he got a yellow card.
he's not a 10.
But
And just
no,
look at him. He doesn't look like a 10, does he?
no, it's Kieran Frawley too. Like that's what we're seeing. That they're losing Frawley next season, and they're just developing Charlie Tector into this a 12 that well a 10 that should be
I
a
look
12
forward to
essentially.
watching his 25 Ireland caps.
Yeah, 25 Ireland caps and an eventual move to Connacht. But I thought for a Leinster standpoint, I thought Rico Awani, he's one of the most interesting signings in this league.
Right, okay. So I was going to ask you about this. So my question is this, and I thought of this yesterday. If Geordie Barrett is a Rolls-Royce motor car, what is Rico Ioane?
He is um a Fiat 500. He's a Fiat 500 with a punctured tire. I just think it was one of those where I messaged that's one I messaged Kaelin about it as well, just be going like he just looks relatively absent. Like that if you had that screenshot of Robbie Henshaw and Rico Ioane as a team sheet and sent it to me 10 years ago, I'd be like, imagine how unbelievable that center partnership would have worked.
Yeah,
But I just thought that he didn't like. You have Joshua Kenny, who's one of the finds of the season for Leinster. He's really exciting to watch. Granted, it was a horrible, horrible night in Cardiff weather-wise. Jimmy O'Brien as well. You know, a lot can be said about the weather, but I felt like Leinster didn't use the players in the right sort of way to orchestrate any type of win. Like there was a bit of a fight. There was a fight towards the end. Luke McGrath, who's Perpignan bound, scored a try towards the
mm,
end. But after that, Cardiff did pretty well to just sort of smother them out. Um, Especially with their yellow card
yeah.
on the 66th minute. Like
Very
they did
professional job. I was impressed.
it was a really good job, and I think it shows how much Cardiff have came on and how they are fully deserving of where they are in the URC at the minute. But on a Leinster hand, you think, what's necessarily going wrong? Is it Leo Cullen? Is it the depth might be a bit more like well, they do have a lot of injuries and they've got a lot of players playing in the Ireland setup, but they had Soleimani, RG Snyman and Rico Wani. They've got their talisman like non-Irish qualified players playing for them. Like it's going to be the same though when I talk about Ulster later on, but there shouldn't be an excuse there. But it was a very good win for Cardiff, granted.
I messaged Harley during the game saying, "Shout out Harley. That if you ask me who's the All Black in of these 30 players on the pitch, who is the current All Black centre, or who's the current All Blacks player? The centre would be a bit of a clue. Who is the current All Blacks player? I don't think Rico Ioane would be my first choice. The only thing that would make me say Rico Ioane is his size, because when you see him at club level, particularly at URC
Yeah.
level, you're like, this guy's massive.
Mhm.
And second is his speed, because he's clearly fast. But I would probably say that he's like some I don't apologies, I don't know his heritage. I would say that he's some Samoan international or something. I wouldn't say that he's a starting All Black by any means. I thought that, Tane Basham, if we talk about it from a Scarlets point of view, I thought Tane Basham played. Sorry, Scarlets. Cardiff. If we talk about it from a Cardiff point of view, I think Tane Basham played really well. I
Yeah.
think Liam Belcher had a really tough day throwing into the line out. But obviously, having Sheedy and Ben Thomas both there is massive. Jacob Beetham showing his value on the wing says a lot about Johan Lloyd that he's on the bench for games like this, to be honest. But yeah, just kind of done a job. 8-7. I can't say that they've obviously played the house down, but they've done a job in this game, got the result, and like you said, like I don't know, in the front row, you can be like, okay, fair enough. Injuries, island call-ups,
Mhm.
your pack isn't what you would like it to be. But then once you get into the back line, Harry Byrne has been around for however
Yeah.
long. You know, exactly like you said, Robbie Henshaw, Rico Ioane should be a centre partnership that is international standard, and it
Yeah.
just wasn't that. Watching it in this game, just
It, it it's a center partnership that would have played against each other the 2017 Lions. Do you know what I mean? Like it's one of those that is Rico Iwani more of a winger than he is a center. He has been struggling in the center a lot. Would he be more suited to a winger in Northern Hemisphere rugby where he's in less contact in that sort of areas? And he can get a bit more of a run up. You know, it's like things like that where I do think like we made a joke on the Interpro Show group chat when we saw the Leinster team lineup, and we were like, 1 to 5 could be a name a generic Leinster player, like make up a name of a generic Leinster player and put them in, like, because it was like that's how far they're going down is their academy with the likes of Andrew Sparrow, Jerry Caher, John McKee, who's former Ulster Academy. Tried to make him into a loose head prop. He said no, went down to Leinster instead. So, you know, there's like players like that where, but then you see their backline still got Max Deegan and Scott Penny, two European standard flankers. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's such an interesting one where um, Cardiff capitalized. I think the rain certainly helped Cardiff, but they also would have capitalized if there wasn't any rain anyway. It was sort of like a really flat performance from Leinster
the
in
way the
general.
Cardiff play. I don't think you could say that the rain favours Cardiff.
But yeah, they do play like quite an exciting brand of rugby. Like it's really fast flowing, but as you kind of said, like in a way they
Cardiff
just used it right.
48 kicks in play to 36, so that's 84 kicks in play in this match.
And that's against like a back three that's pretty good. Like as I said, JJ Kenny, really good. He's finding his footing in the URC. Jimmy O'Brien, international. You know, I quite like Jimmy O'Brien, but you know, there was 48 kicks in open play, and there was no real response to it. Sort of shown. You know, it was just a really interesting game altogether, and I do
They
feel
just
like
didn't want it. That was it. They
no,
just didn't want it.
they didn't want it, and this is not a game that they can afford to lose. I don't think anyone in the top eight now can afford to lose any games, considering this weekend. So I think this is going to be one that they're going to scratch their heads at and see how they go when they're going to be fully loaded next time they play.
Mohammed is a Southern Hemisphere voice on the show. You got any additional thoughts on Rico Ioane?
Well, it's really unfortunate. There's somewhat regression. Still a quality player. I didn't think he'd make as much of an impact as Geordie Barrett last season, but yeah, I'm still somewhat disappointed at the lack of impact. I'll give him a bit more time. I mean, Ege Sneeman playing off the bench, it might have just been an impact idea as well. And yeah, like Glasgow, I thought Leinster had still a solid team. And not hugely surprised they lost, but somewhat surprised because I mean it is competitive. The URC is giving very EPL vibes in that there's a competitive edge, and you will see like random results, and it's not just sort of one team running away with it. It's very encouraging for me to see so many of the top eight teams dropping points and losing this weekend, except for Munster. Munster won, Cardiff won, but just about everybody else lost.
Yeah, I would hate to be a Welsh international loosehead prop who went on a podcast and say that the problem with the URC is uncompetitive.
Yeah.
You would look like a dick if you did that now. Anyway, before we go any further, I just want to remind people if you're enjoying what you're watching or listening to so far, please consider subscribing to the Global Gain Line on YouTube. We have passed 1,500 subscribers. Does that mean we're satisfied? No, we're always desperate for more. Obviously, there's Six Nations coverage absolutely coming out of your ears all the way through the Six Nations. There's a France specific podcast, the Top 14 Digest. There's the Irish Interpro show, which is hosted by Adam. We are having a bit of an animal back, the South African show this week. There's a women's rugby show, which will be coming back. I believe they're planning on doing one this week as well. So yeah, what was the catchphrase that I thought of the other day? A bit of rugby for a bit of rugby from a bit of everywhere. So if that sounds like a bit of you, please consider subscribing.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good,
Very
isn't
nice.
it?
Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone trademark that.
Copyright, please. Someone. Yeah.
Right. Mohammed, we're coming back to you because we're talking about Lions versus Stormers. Lions, okay, let's talk about Lions first because they deserve it. South African Shields champions 2026. Back-to-back Currie Cup finals and now Lions South African Shield champions. Is this the age of domination is my question.
Yeah, it's so easy to just pivot to the fact that Stormers lost 3 games in a row now, but we have to talk about the Lions having beaten the Sharks convincingly last week and then backing it up again at Ellis Park, and getting a decent crowd into the stadium. Not exactly full. I mean, it's a huge stadium, but yeah, bringing the Gears back. Lions looked really good in this game. They had continuity between the two results from last week. Sibusiso, the Lions, one of the two Lions correspondents on Bit of an Animal, along with Tim Nkosi, he had sort of circled this game. He thought it was coming up much sooner than it was because the Lions actually gave the Stormers a very tight game at Cape Town Stadium, and gave them quite a scare in that first fixture. And then they came through and actually won this game. The Lions have a bit more continuity in terms of their selection. I think Bronson Mills consistently being picked now at 12, having broken through towards the end of last season. Chris Smith,
Ooh, we're having connection problems.
to France and then came back. You can't see me?
No, you're back now. It's okay.
Yeah, Chris Smith, a much better player than people give him credit for. Etienne Oosthuizen, who
Jake
used to play for
absolutely chuck him out of the Bulls. Jake was like, "I'm not having this guy."
I mean, he played well. I don't remember him falling out with the Bulls, but he left for Unox. Etienne Oosthuizen, who used to play for I saw him last in Borland when Sharks played Borland in the Currie
How many
Cup.
players called Cronje are there playing for the Lions?
It's like Jones for Welsh players. So every second player
I'll tell you who I like. I like this guy, Angelo Davids.
Yeah, I mean, he came over from the Stormers last season.
Is
So
he a Bruno
credit to
Mars
him.
fan? I'm just
Because of that?
asking.
Because of that? Is that a Bruno Mars thing? I listen to the Deftones, not Bruno Mars, so I'm the wrong person to ask. The Stormers had quite a rotated team. I mean, they were missing Damian Willemse, but yeah, look, Siba Mahashe on the open side flank. Sibusiso says he's one to keep an eye on, and Batul Krikani, who's been invited to the Springboks alignment camp as well, like Baby Box superstar. He played really since he got to the Lions from the Sharks. He's been putting in fantastic performances. So credit to the Lions. Look, maybe because I mean, earlier this season we did the predictions podcast, and I was just winging it. That was just for the hiss, for the crack, as Kaylon would say. But yeah, maybe we actually do get. I did say the Lions would make the playoffs, and I was hoping they would on the back of like the development they had made over the last few seasons. And then like I'm nothing if not an optimist. Hopefully all 4 South African teams can make the playoffs. I mean, I'm such an optimist. I believe in my heart of hearts that Tottenham Hotspurs will win the league next season. It'll be the championship, but it is still a league.
Okay, let's pivot now and talk about the Stormers. Congratulations, Lions. Stormers, the three losses in a row, 4 losses in the last 5.
Ooh.
It's not looking good, and even when the Stormers were winning, and it's easy to say this in hindsight now, but even when the Stormers were winning, their attack wasn't their strong suit. And it seems like if you can score first against the Stormers, you're probably going to win.
Yeah, Stormers are going to have to figure stuff out. Look, they had a fantastic start to the season. Tactically, they might want to evolve somewhat, defense and attack. If you look at the Stormers Reddit, which Bryce is on, by the way, Bryce is also on Bit of an Animal. But I won't tell you what Bryce's username is, otherwise you're going to know what he's posting there. They're all joining in on with Bryce and throwing the Stormers attack coach under the bus. I forget his name. So that's an aspect as well. Look, starting really well and then losing 2 games. Well, you can somewhat forgive it, but they've had time to prepare for this game. Optimistic Stormers supporters might say, well, their first choice, 3 of their first choice centers are all missing. That's Rowan Nel, Dan du
Sorry, I'm gonna have to
Plessis.
jump in. Whilst you've been talking, I've been searching Angelo Davids and Bruno Mars. So this is Angelo Davids.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Angelo Davids. Okay. Bruno Mars.
The doppelgangers. Oh,
Even in the red.
yeah,
Hey, it's a good thing. He's a good looking guy.
yeah,
He's a good looking
yeah,
guy.
yeah. So hopefully I mean Stormers have a 2 week break now because they play the Bulls in 2 weeks time. So the Springbok players are gonna see if Dobson pulls in because they don't have that many regular Springboks in the team right now. And the Springboks are going to their alignment camp in this week.
This is my
So
thing about the
we'll
Stormers is their squad's
we'll
not actually that good.
we'll see. Well, they're not highly rated per se, but I mean like we'll see how many if Dobson actually gives them time off after this 3 losses in a row, or if he pulls them in a bit sooner. And just for clarification, I do not support Tottenham. I just like turning the screw on them. That's it.
Ethan, any thoughts on the Stormers collapse? For
I
tis
mean,
what we have to call it at this point.
yeah, it's a strange one because I mean, it's been such a long season so far with everything that's been going on. But did they not come into the season? Well, they started beating Leinster. I mean, granted, before everyone comes in, it was a Leinster B team, but it
No, it
was a
was quite
convincing.
strong. No, to be fair,
Was
it
it
was
quite
quite a
one?
strong Leinster team.
Quite strong one. And then because what was did they not have a really good streak until they lost in the Champions
Yeah,
Cup?
8
Is
in a
that
row. They were 8-0. And now
Hmm.
the last 3 games they lost all 3, so now 8-3.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, in that it looked like this year was going brilliantly for the Stormers, in that they were also being quite successful in Europe as well, if I recall, to then lose what 3 out of the last 5.
Mm.
Is
I
that
mean,
just from the URC or is
All of the
that
last 5.
all of
I mean,
wow.
the only game they won of late was beating English team Leicester Tigers at Cape Town Stadium. And
Hmm.
even that game seemed a bit sketchy in terms of the
Hmm.
defense. They gave Leicester Tigers a lot of space in terms of attack and stuff. So I would have thought they would have sorted things out. And there's a super tough game for them now away to the Bulls in Pretoria in 2 weeks' time, which is a mouth-watering fixture. It's
Oh my
coincides with
goodness.
the last week of the Six Nations as well. So that's going to be an exciting
It wasn't that
weekend of
long
rugby.
ago that the Bulls lost 7 in a row and the Stormers were 8-0. Now
Right.
you're thinking, gosh, yeah, Stormers is damage limitation going there now. It's amazing how quickly things change. Anyway, so congratulations to the people of Fidelity Secure Tribe on their title win this weekend. Let's now switch to talking about, okay, Adam, limber up. Ospreys versus Ulster. The last game of the weekend. 21 points to 10 was the final score. I kept checking the score on this one to see what was going on, and it was 7-10 for like, it felt like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Latham is now about to explain why he's not okay.
No, go from the highs and jubilations of beating England last week to going, I can't wait to see my favorite team play. This was, I think, with Ulster, we don't, I just, can't really explain it. It was one of those games where, I thought that the Ospreys put in a real hearted performance, and for like as an Ulster standpoint, I think that we were quite shocked by it. I think that us playing like it's going to be the same as the Ospreys, but we played with like there was a lot of rust. It was like a lot of like ring rust essentially that we were trying to like push through. And when you look at that team, I said on the Interpro show last week that there's no excuse where we couldn't have a bonus point win or a win at all. Because I would have taken a win at all given the scoreline. But yeah, there was a lot of confusing moments to this game where I thought that the the referee made some choice, interesting-ish calls. The yellow card for Marcus Ray is one of them that I was like, at the time I couldn't really understand it. However, looking back in it and looking at it and like actually seeing it, is that he did look like he did shoulder right into the face of the replacement scrum half
So
for the Ospreys.
this one is all about whether you watch the full speed replay or not. If you just take the reverse angle and you slow it down to frame by frame, you're like, yeah, he's shoulder straight to the face. No argument. But then if you watch it in real time on the angle from the Ulster point of view, firstly, Owen Watkin is lying on his belly with his hands all over the ball. So it's a penalty to Ulster anyway. Second, so when he's got his hands on the ball, the Ulster player is entitled to go in and clean him out. The fact that he's lying on the ground with only his head up, it's like, what? So you're not allowed to clean him out in that situation. So it's kind of, because the first thing that I said to you when I saw it, I was like, why does he need to go and make that clean out? He was always going to impact the head. There was the only part of the Ospreys player there was to impact was straight in the face.
Yeah.
But if you watch it in real time, it was so quick that the whole situation develops that you are like, well, what's he supposed to do? The in that situation. So you can see by letter of the law that it's like, no, he's shouldered him straight to the face. But it wasn't like, it's not a tucked shoulder. It's it's a legal attempt at a clean out.
Yeah.
And we've heard other referees saying that not all head contact is foul play. So I do feel, I'm going to be controversial and say I do feel for the referee a little bit in this one. It is a hard decision.
It's a hard decision. I just feel like, for an Ulster fan, I think it's just really, the fact that we went over for the try was chalked off. The yellow card was then turned into a review, and then straight after that, the Ospreys scored in quite a shaky try anyway that should have been covered by Mike Laurie. That was another confusing one at the end there. You know, he sort of like the ball bounced and it sort of bobbled a bit, and then
on all the molehills and rabbit warrens in the pitch in the brewery.
well, yeah, essentially, and then it sort of just propped up for the Ospreys winger. Cormac Foley scoring after 3 minutes, him being alone from Leinster as well. It was like they do haunt us still, no matter who they play for. But I did feel it was really interesting, like watching it as well. I thought Nathan Doak, you've got players that are fringe players for Ireland. And I'm all for saying like, this is like this Nathan Doak assist here was really, really nice. Nice wee chip over the top. There we go. Try for Zach Ward. Really nice. But I felt like after that, he missed his conversions. Tom Stewart scored a try. And then there was another missed conversion. I think the wind was a bit shaky, but then the Ospreys fly half made all of his kicks. I just thought that there was a lot of it just felt very flat, and I knew it was one of those like classic, you're supporting your team and you know which moment that you feel like a loss is coming, and that came like in the second half when none of the teams really tried to break away at all. And then Ospreys scored their second try, and then I was just like, yeah, this doesn't feel like it's gonna be a win. Even when we scored the try and then immediately got disallowed, it just was flat.
It was two quite full strength teams, it's worth saying. You're obviously missing Big Stu and Timoney.
Yeah, and Robert Balakoon and Stockdale. But then again, as I said, it's not an excuse. We've got
Zach Wardens and Koch. They're pretty good. And the Ospreys are only missing Dewey Lake and Dan Edwards. So that's pretty full strength for Ospreys team as well. And you can look at it and go, 21-10 sounds bad. But then you kind of go 3 tries to 2 and you missed your conversions. And then you've had a try chalked off. And Kasende's try has come from Owen Watkin funting it down the pitch, and Mikey Lowry, it bounces away from him and Kasende flops on it. There's nothing in it.
No, I think because as you said, Hugh, it is a full strength Ulster side. I think the Ospreys have became sort of like a bogey team. I think going to Wales in general for us became sort of a bogey thing.
In Cardiff, in Llanelli, and in Bridgend so far this season.
We've had more wins in South Africa than we have in Wales, and they say that there's an issue in Wales. I don't see it. No, I do for all the comments.
Could there be more of an issue?
Yeah, but it's one of those that I thought, for Ulster. I said this on the Interpro show. we've got Angus Bell coming off the bench. We've got one of the best loose head props in the world coming off the bench. Granted, our bench did sort of teeter off a little bit in terms of quality, but we had the likes of Harry Sheridan, very good player on the bench as well. Um, Jack Murphy had an interesting day. I felt like they really focused, the back row really focused well on covering Jack Murphy. Credit to Ospreys. As I said, like it's no sort of um me like putting shame on Ulster, but it was a very good Ospreys performance, I must say. But the referee was interesting to say the least. I think it could have been his first game. I've never seen him before.
Hmm.
So it was one of those where I thought it was very interesting. Bounce of the ball didn't go our way, and I think, as you said, Hugh, that's what is sort of shown. Um, but yeah, it's something that I would say that we might regret come the end of the season. We've got a very big Challenge Cup round of 16 game against them. Would I rather win that than this? Yes. Would I rather win them both? Of course, but we have to get settled now and then focus on the Edinburgh game in a couple of weeks' time.
Mm. Well, excellent segue, Adam, because we're going to talk
Thank you.
about Edinburgh just now. So Edinburgh, Ethan beat the Scarlets.
Yeah.
However, my favorite online fan base in the whole URC is Edinburgh. They are such class fans. They talk about they call a spade a spade. They're so good at processing grief. There's no head loss with Edinburgh fans. They don't their heads don't explode. They just call it straight down the middle as it is, and they go, we're shit, but we won. And that's just what it's been in this whole Sean Everett era for Edinburgh of played shit but somehow won, especially at home. And so it was again. I'll get your take on the game first.
I mean, I will disclose the fact that I did not see the first like 30 or so minutes because I was trying to find the pub in Glasgow that actually was showing the URC that day. Eventually found Drewfies, which didn't have audio, but it was karaoke night, so that was loud. Um, it's quite disorientating. Having like music blasted my ear from pretty patchy karaoke and having to watch Edinburgh play. But but yeah, it wasn't the best Edinburgh performance. It was one of those ones, like you said it
What
best.
is the best Edinburgh performance?
It's one of those things, but it's like what you're saying in the group chat where it was like Edinburgh's tries all came from nothing. And
Yeah.
I feel that's probably the best way to describe it, in that somehow they made the most of like how would you describe it? The opportunities
Three
they
of their
get.
four tries came from kick returns.
Yep. Oh yeah, because the one that to me summarizes best was Scarlets were kicking to Edinburgh, and it was just the way the ball bounced.
Yeah, if it bounces one way, Tommy Rogers under the sticks for Scarlets.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the Finn Russell kick from last week against Wales, where it was just one of those ones that just a slight centimeter off or at a slightly different angle, it could have been a completely different result. Um, but I mean, this is so hard to describe the Edinburgh performance. Magnus Bradbury, probably the highlight for Edinburgh.
Yeah, yeah, good play.
He's been brilliant since he's been made captain this whole season. I think he he's again like Kyle Rowe, he's trying to fight hard for that Scotland jersey, especially with Jack Dempsey possibly having his foot back in from injury. Um, Harry Patterson, when he came back from his yellow card, was quite good. But yeah, it was, it was you can tell that all the Edinburgh coaches are going at the end of the season and they're just like, yeah, do what you want, lads.
Because from a Scarlets point of view, I don't think I've seen any Scarlets fans being like, oh, we were shit or we've lost and things. There's a lot of frustration. I'm very frustrated because I feel like that is a game that we should have won
Mhm.
and we didn't. And so that's frustrating. And it's like I don't feel I can definitely say that we were the worst team. What really annoys me is I don't think that Edinburgh were particularly good. Edinburgh's played well for 8 minutes after the start of the second half, scored 2 tries, and that was enough for them to win the game. That is irritating. And the Scarlets, we're 12 rounds in now, and the Scarlets are still the only team not to have registered a 4-try bonus point in 12 games. In club rugby, that's shit. To be honest, that is bad. But I felt like when we did have the ball and we did attack, our attack was better than Edinburgh's. And I know that sounds ridiculous because, they've scored 4, we scored 3. But like I said, if you take Edinburgh's first try from absolutely nothing, a loose kick, they make a break. Ben Velicott makes a break in midfield. Oh, no, I think he scored it. Someone else makes a break in midfield and they scored it. Like you said, the one where if it bounces one way, Tommy Rogers under the sticks, bounces the other way, they go at the other end. Those 2 tries after half-time, it's 2 poor missed tackles from Scarlets players and they've scored. And then obviously the charge down. That's not come from Edinburgh breaking down our defence in any way. It's just, and Carwyn Leggett-Jones, obviously 18 years old, been playing for Wales under-20s. When you're going to play 18-year-old fly half, shit like that is going to happen. So we just have to kind of be all right with it, I think. But like I said, Carwyn Leggett-Jones, you can say he's made the mistake, which has ultimately been the one that makes the difference on the night. But he's got 4 try assists in 2 starts for the Scarlets at aged 18. That's amazing. So I've seen most Scarlets players most Scarlets fans are like, yeah, he's made a mistake, but we're not hammering him because we can see what's going on with this guy. So it's fine. I thought Joe Roberts played very well. I thought Josh McLeod was the best player on the pitch. I can't understand. Scarlets fan being biased, I can't understand why he's not in the Wales lineup. I think he's clearly Wales' best 7, and he brings leadership as well. But there you go. There's my incredibly biased opinion. But I was watching Edinburgh in that first half. When in possession, I was watching them and I was like, geez, do Edinburgh fans watch this every week? Because I know Edinburgh fans, you won the game, 4 tries to 3. Check the league table. Scarlets aren't very good, but I was like, this is such dull, unimaginative rugby that I'm watching. It's just not. Even though they won, I can understand why Edinburgh fans are still pissed off watching this team.
No wonder policeman Ben left.
He doesn't like him either.
Yeah, I know, and I'm not really an Edinburgh fan either, and I'm depressed having to watch it and report on here. And they have to do it. They do it out of love for Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard watch. I mean, it's the sort of thing that optimistically, hopefully next season with whoever comes in, because I think they're still looking for them from the sounds of it, that they've not got any idea, which I'm not really surprised by, because I'm pretty sure they put the Scottish women's defense coach or something recently on LinkedIn, just really casually. So who knows who they'll get in for Edinburgh, but hopefully it's just they need a change of something.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens when they get some new assistant coaches in for next season. Anyway, before we go any further, audio listeners, pay attention. If you're listening on audio, please consider giving us a 5-star review and sharing a link with a friend. Audio is the hardest thing to grow in terms of bringing new people to listening to the show. So if you're enjoying what you're listening to so far and you've got URC watching mates, and there aren't many URC podcasts out there. There really aren't. So, especially not ones with a voice from all 4 shields. So share us around. Give us a 5-star rating. If you're listening on Spotify, you can leave a comment if you'd like to. And yeah, much appreciated for your help in advance. All right, speaking of new coaches, let's now talk about Dragons versus Benetton. Now, I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen tons of this, and I know that's very remiss of me as the Welsh voice on the show. I didn't watch tons of Dragons versus Benetton. You know what I was doing? I know this isn't necessarily related to this game, but instead of watching Ospreys versus Ulster, I watched Anchorman 2 again. And I had a very nice time.
One was more entertaining than the other, I take it.
Yeah. But anyway, Dragons versus Benetton. They say that winning and losing is a habit. Well, for the Dragons, drawing is a habit. 3 draws so far in the URC season, 15s all. I think what will kill them is they scored in the 81st minute and then they've missed the conversion to win it. that will hurt them. And kicking for goal has been, an issue. I've just seen that they've had a red card as well for Levi Douglas. I completely missed that. Like I said, I haven't seen tons of the game. Angus O'Brien has been pretty decent, well, hit and miss, literally, in front of goal this season. So for them to miss the final shot is a killer for them. But you have to say the performances are still there. And I messaged Jamie from Dragon's Lair, and he said that he was pretty happy with the performance overall, backs to the wall performance. So, from Benetton, it's just more of the same. From Dragons, I think it's a sign that the improvement is still there. But I think rather than talk about this game at length necessarily, let's talk about the fact that Benetton have announced their new coach, and it's none other than former reigning Pro 12 champion coach, as I'm keen to remind everyone, and Six Nations winning coach, which everybody forgets, Wayne Pivac has taken over at Benetton. Does anybody have an initial reaction to this? Because I think this could be a great appointment.
I mean, I was going to say, is that now another All Blacks coach contender out the race?
Yeah. To be fair, he wasn't really linked with it, but yes, technically, yes.
I think that it's such an interesting appointment for Treviso, because I think it sort of shows how they're looking to succeed essentially with that type of the thing. But I was like just looking at like Wayne Pivac, because I was like, oh yeah, he's the one that coached Wales, and then you reminded me of he the coach of the Jam Slam.
He was indeed.
He was the coach of the Jam Slam. Like that is probably the most I think in the professional era, the most ridiculous Grand Slam ever made. And to be fair play to him. But yeah, I think it shows a lot of interest. He last coached in Japan.
Yeah, he's
so yeah,
coaching Green Rockets in the second division.
Green Rockets, yes, they're a professional team. So yeah, I think that's like it's an interesting pickup for Treviso, and as I always sort of say, like there's not like a big coaching pool. Do you know when you talk about like the likes of football, you can see there's a big coaching pool, and you can tell who's going to go where.
There's not many
That Wayne
Italian coaches knocking about either. When you
No,
think
there
about
isn't
it.
many. Oh no, no, not at all. And I think with the likes of in Italy, when you look at how much they've changed and how much they've progressed, who was the one to sort of start that would have been Conor O'Shea. Like when he started like sorting everything out. So, taking people in like Wayne Pivac into the Italian system is only going to benefit them in that sense, I think. That's my
Ch
first reaction.
Jake
Go on,
White
Mohammed.
was supposedly also linked to the post as well. He was on the shortlist. How true that is, we'll
I
have to
am
figure
told,
out.
yes, that was widely reported. I am told that it was bollocks.
Oh yeah,
And
people were trying to sort of
Yeah.
fill up space on rugby articles as it relates to that.
just
And
quickly, just going back to the Edinburgh Scarlets game. Holly Davidson is officially now a celebrity referee. Like she's
that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice to see. Yeah.
getting selfish. She was running the touchline in this game, and she's signing autographs and stuff before the game. She's awesome. Anyway, going back to Wayne Pivac at Benetton, I think it's a great appointment. Obviously, he's won the title for the Scarlets, so I'm biased and stuff. But he might not have an immediate impact. But the fact that he's there on a 2+2 deal, so for 2 years, and then with an option to extend to, I really, really, truly believe that Benetton is a great job. We're just waiting for someone to make it work. There's a natural progression to being Italy coach. You've got money to spend. You've got good players. You've got foreign international players, and you've got Italian internationals playing for you. It's a rugby mad part of the country. It's an affluent part of the country. Great place to live. Franco Smith still has a house out there. I think it's a success story waiting to happen. And he'll go in there, he'll lay foundations, because when he went to the Scarlets, it didn't work immediately. It took a while for him to get it all working, get the squad that he wanted, get the assistant coaches in, and the style of play as well. The greatest style of play that rugby union has ever seen, the Scarlets Pro 12 winning title campaign. Unfortunately, he's not going to have Tommaso Manincello, unfortunately, because he's going to Toulouse. But he'll just gradually put it all together, and there might be a few frustrating ones where it doesn't quite click. but I genuinely believe that this could be great. And it's great to see that Benetton can attract that caliber of coach as well. Like former, Six Nations winning coach
Yeah.
that they've got. It's he's been out in Japan, but there's some great coaches in Japan. Like Dave Rennie is currently in Japan, and I think he would be a great option for All Blacks coach at this point. So
Yeah.
I'm massively enthusiastic about this appointment. Really looking forward to seeing it.
And speaking of good players, the Benetton are going to get Jean Smith, Franco Smith's youngest son, from the Sharks for next season. He's a good fly-off option, fullback at a push, that type of thing. A bit annoying for the Sharks' perspective, losing him, because our depth chart was like Jordan Hendricks, and then we were hoping John Smith would sort of fill in there because Siamasuku is not in great form. And then so that we don't rush Vusamoya and Jean Guilherme too soon because they're quite young still. So that messes our depth chart up a bit. And from a Dragons perspective, the Dragons lost Sebo Klamini, the prop from Griquas captain, to a long-term injury because he was on loan there. And apparently he won't be re-signing with the Dragons. He'll be going to another club, but he hasn't announced yet exactly which club he's going to. So he's leaving House Targaryen.
So yeah, not tons to say about Benetton versus Dragons as an actual game. It was a draw, but final game of the weekend, Munster versus Zebre. So this one was 7-7 for ages, and it got to the point where I was like, if that's still 7-7 with 20 minutes to go, I'll stick it on. And then I thought to myself, I bet the moment that I stick it on, Munster will score. And I've literally, as the screen is loaded, it's Munster standing up, having just scored. So sorry, Zebre, it was my fault that you've lost this game. But Adam, they won, but
This is, I think, I saw on the Edinburgh group chat that this could be, I think this is Munster's first win in Limerick since October. Something mental, like a mad stat like that. It's a win's a win. Especially at this part of the this time of the tournament. I think it's a very welcome win for Munster. Um, I think with that Zebra team, I'm not sure how many players would have been out due to the Italian setup.
I'm sorry for being disrespectful. If we've got any Zebra fans watching, if you are a Zebra fan watching or listening, please comment. We'd absolutely love to hear from you. But these could be AI generated names. I'm really sorry.
Yeah,
Like,
do you know what it is? It's like Stavel is I think he's quite a decent player,
there
to
was the
be
guy
fair.
who looks like Bergamasco that he caught
Yeah.
my eye. I was like, oh my God. And then obviously like that's like 15 years out of date, so it wasn't him.
Yeah, it was one of those where I thought, like, I was uh, seeing, I was keeping up with the score, and then I watched some of the highlights for it, and then of course I saw like some of the reaction on group chats and stuff, and I thought that like all the Irish provinces had quite strong teams. I think they're unusually strong teams for in the middle of a Six Nations. You've got Milner there, you've got
John
Alatoa,
Klein.
John Klein, yeah. Finley Wycherley's good player. Gavin Coombs, great player in the league. So same as O'Donoghue. Gleason's a very good player. You know, there's loads of really good players. The centre partnership of Dan Kelly and Tom Farrell at the start of the season, loads of Munster fans were calling for them to be internationally capped together. You've
I
got Mike
hate to
Hit.
say it, and it's not his fault, but we are sort of getting Munster and the JJ Hanrahan All Stars. It's like two separate
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah, the JJ Hanrahan. It's sort of like when Leinster had the Reese Ruddock All Stars. The JJ Hanrahan All Stars. Like I think, and it's really sad for the URC because, as I sort of mentioned at the start, it wasn't like a great game. As you said, it was 7-7 for most of it, and then Munster decided to score a couple of tries at the end and win. For an Origin round, we started to see like it was just one of those that. I thought Munster would have thought they would have got a bonus point easily, handily enough, sort of like an Ulster fan would have thought about this week. But yeah, it was just sort of flat. You had a Dogbo on the bench as well. You had a Dogbo released from Ireland camp as well. You had the likes of yeah, I just think it's such a strong team compared to that, as you said, the Zebra squad that looks like it's AI generated. Um, they should be thrashing. They should be thrashing that Zebra team. They should be, but they didn't. It was just pretty lackluster and pretty flat. And I feel
How are
like
they
there's much.
fourth? How are Munster fourth?
It's how close the table is. When you look at all that table, everyone's sitting on either eight, like in the top eight, you're either sitting on eight, well, nine if you're Glasgow, but after that it's eight, seven, or six wins. Everyone's really close, and I think bonus point wise, Munster are doing pretty well with eight bonus points. Bonus points are doing a lot. Like you see that the Stormers only have four there, and they're on a sort of slippery slope. Like they can, Ulster can easily go above them. The likes of the Lions could easily go above them as well. Like this is a really, really tight season now, and yeah, I think Munster being really good at the start of the season, having a really shocking middle part of the season where they lost a lot in Europe as well. And I think that's where we're sort of going like, how are they fourth? How are they fourth? But we have to remember that some of the games that they played were in Europe and they weren't exactly great. But I think for a camp and for player morale, a win's a win, and they really needed that win. Especially at this part of the season as well.
Yeah, I just brought some highlights from the URC Twitter, and I have absolutely no idea what we're looking at.
That was yeah, it was just the highlights of socks. Everyone
Yeah.
was wearing
Yeah,
odd
because
socks. Odd socks
it's
this week.
supposed to reflect your school, university, and that type of thing.
Yeah, I do like themed rounds, but I feel like the odd socks just put a bad omen on this round, and this is going to be one of the forgetful rounds of the URC.
I
Next
don't know.
Scarlets home game at home to Zebre is apparently Ladies' Day.
Oh,
Oh.
very nice.
But Brisbane Thunder, who are not officially the Scarlets women's team, but in real terms they are, have had some great form lately. But we're still fighting for this title. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the URC portion of the show. Do you want to do some Six Nations predictions? Scotland versus France. What do you think is going to happen?
Ooh. France, but not. I yeah, France by 10 points. I think Scotland will put in some fight. I do think that Scotland are like looking at it going that they can win a Six Nations. They could also win a Triple Crown, but that's not the case with the France game. But they're gonna look at hitting the ground running and giving France a bit of a scare. So yeah, France within 10.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I think Scotland will step up for it. It's one of those ones that like if Scotland wins it, great. But I think they're probably more eyeing the Triple Crown because that would mean a lot more in the long term for Gregor and also just for the team in general that they've not beaten Ireland since Gregor has taken charge. That yeah, we have beaten France. I think it was what 5 out of 13 matches against France we've won, which isn't a bad statistic. Slightly less now, and granted, there was the what 2024 with that disallowed try that really should have counted. That I'm still not bitter about after 2 years. But I feel in some ways we can be France's bogey team, but in other games we just get completely washed away, like last year. I think France by 8.
Mohammed, got a view?
The South African B team, otherwise known as Scotland, by 5. Why not?
I think France are going to win. Ireland versus Wales. Adam, what does this game look like? Adam versus Wales. It's Ireland versus Wales. How does this game? How does this game go? Because I think it could end up being a high scoring one.
Yeah, it could be very high scoring. You certainly shocked us. I think it was last season, when you put in a good performance. I think
there.
yeah, like it's one of those where Ireland will be looking at this going like with I don't know if we're going in with rose-tinted glasses because we really beat an England team that we will see. Well, we're going to talk about it in a bit, but I think we're going to look at it as we're going to go for a triple crown, much like Scotland. We need to probably blow this Welsh team out of the water, but Wales will say, look at that first 60 minutes against look at the first 60 minutes against Scotland. How can we replicate that against Ireland? Ireland don't play a fast enough game compared to Scotland. So the way that Scotland would have tired them out towards that end, it's going to be a much more physical game, and I think that's going to suit Wales if they had any type of chance. But saying that, I'm gonna say Ireland by 20 odd points. I'd say they would give a bit of a fright towards the start though.
I can probably see that. Do any of the neutrals have a view on how this one's going to go? I genuinely don't know what this Ireland versus Wales game looks like. I think Ireland are going to win. That's not the question. The question is, d- what what kind of a viewing experience is it going to be?
I feel I'm leaning slightly towards a better Welsh performance because I feel that game they had against Scotland was what they needed. They they got a lot of confidence from it. It showed that quite a lot of things were working. But whether because obviously Scotland and Ireland play really differently, whether that might not come out as well. But the Welsh scrum, given how badly affected Ireland's scrum's been recently
Mm.
and how depleted their front row is, they might be eyeing that up and hoping they can use that to gain some territory.
Mm.
I hope a Dogbo actually gets a bit more time, either off the bench or maybe starts. One sort of aspect I keep forgetting to talk about Scotland as it relates, I'll just say quickly, is that I remember Jack Dempsey playing in Super Rugby and I remember him playing for Australia. And then the sort of lost track of him. I knew he left sort of Australian rugby. And then I looked at a Scotland team sheet and I was like, Jack Dempsey, didn't Australia have a guy by the same name? And I looked it up and I was like, wow, it's the same dude. And then I'm just very impressed at his rugby career as a whole, because I mean, I don't know if he stood out that much for me at the Waratahs and Australia, but like he's like a key player for Scotland. So shout out to him.
Why are we talking about Scotland? I was asking you about Ireland versus Wales. Anyway,
Yeah, I just the only thing I had was like a Dogbo. Yeah, I want to see him play
Okay.
more.
and England versus Italy. Am I just being Italy versus England? Am I just being incredibly grumpy and cynical when I don't understand why people genuinely think Italy are going to win this game?
I'm trying to remember. I think the last time Italy played England, it was England won by 3 points. Is that right?
Time before.
Or was that time before that one? Right. I
Italy
mean,
have never beaten England.
no, not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
Until this weekend.
27th time is the charm.
Yeah.
They nearly beat them with the no offside line gate, which I
Yeah.
really enjoyed to watch that. But I think I do think there is. I'm not a betting man, but like if I would bet a fiver on Italy winning, I would have been mad losing that money. But it's one of those where Italy would be looking at England like a limping like gazelle. Do you know what I mean? Like they'd be looking at it going, hey, look, we put in a really good performance against Scotland. We beat Scotland. We played really well against Ireland. And look what that Ireland team did against England. If they did anything like what they did against us, they could, in theory, in Rome, beat them. They could. But it's whether or not that they can last the full 80 minutes.
The only way that Italy beat England is if England completely collapse, completely fall apart. I'm loving the rumours coming out of England camp of all the changes to the selection. It's so Borthwick. Borthwick is like, try something. If they win, keep it the same. If they lose, go, oh, change it all again. Like, he's like, there's no master plan coming here with Borthwick. It's the biggest level of copium from any fan base is the England's Borthwick's got a master plan thing. Just look at what happens. When he wins, he keeps the team the same. When he loses, he changes the whole team. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
I
it's
hope
like how they can.
I hope Italy wins so you guys can get Mike back on next week and he can sort of wax lyric about nothing. It's a bit disappointing though. You guys had Mike on, that's fantastic, but like you didn't get a French person on, you didn't get an English person on, but I guess you guys don't
Celtic
want an English
conspiracy.
person.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
Celtic conspiracy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Celtic
It's like, oh, you did invite one on.
So I'm going for an England win in a slightly drab game.
I'm gonna go for an Italy last minute penalty.
Yeah, I think it might be just copium, but I'm going or hopium. I'm going Italy win purely from England having a bit of an identity crisis and Henry Arundel's back on the wing, so it's kind of 15v14.
That's the thing. If Arndell starts and if Ford starts, I do see Italy running away with it. It's one of those where like they're having really shocking games. So, the confidence is there, and Menicello is really good, and I want to see him play really well.
Mohammed?
Yeah, Italy, hopefully. Tommy Allen back in the team, hat trick. The South
You're all
African connection.
completely fucking deluded, right? England are winning this game. Just come to terms with it. Anyway,
I love the Tommy
I
Allen
want Italy to win.
Anyway, let's bring the show to the end. Thank you everybody for watching. If you've watched all the way to the end, you clearly like it, so please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. If you are listening on audio, please share links with friends and help us all in that way. And that just leaves me to say thank you to the panel of Irish Adam, Scottish Ethan, and South African Mohammed.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Right, see you later.
I've been Welsh Hugh. Enjoy your rugby and hope that everybody's team wins. Bye.